What's up, guys and gals? My name is Splattercat. We're here today taking a look at Aterdux or Aterdux. I don't really know how to say the developer's name, but we are here today to take a look at their early beta access of Legends of Eisenwald. Now, if you are interested in this game after seeing the things that we do in today's episode, all of the crazy medieval fun we're going to get into, you can definitely feel free to check the game out on their website, which I will put down below. Now, what is Legends of Eisenwald? Well, if I had to describe it in a word, it's very much like a turn-based version of Mount and Blade almost, which is a strange comparison to make, but I think this game is headed in interesting directions. The combat system is unique, and so let's go ahead and start up. I haven't played this game a ton, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was thinking about doing a Splattercat's indie short of the game, but I didn't feel like it would be fair to render judgment on something that's so early in its development process. So here we are, let's do this thing, let's play ourselves a new game. We can choose between the prologue, which is a tutorial that the developers have put in. I'm going to skip that altogether, and we're going to go with Masquerade. Let's play that one. It's going to be the main campaign for this early beta. And we get a couple of characters that we get to pick from here. We have the Knight, we have the Baroness, or we have the Mystic. I'm probably going to go with the Knight, because he looks badass. And frankly, that's all that I strive for in RPGs, is just to look amazing. If I have super awesome armor of just manly destruction, I'm good to go. So we can't enter a name just yet. Like, I'm spamming keys right now and I'm clicking on the enter name spot. I think we just have to live with what we get. So we're gonna go ahead and start it on up. This game is a little bit rough around the edges right now, but it's very, very early beta. So once again, that's my final warning, early beta, so bear with me. Our character's name is Heinrich. The masquerade ball in Senkzong is just days away. Though I do not love the company of snakes in the slightest, it is most important to be seen there. The game is also translated from Russian, so bear in mind that there are some translational issues right now. They haven't all been hammered out, but I think it all adds into kind of the mystique of the game. The strange way that they talk in some cases actually helps sell the setting a bit more. Our friend Paul here, he's in a medieval world. His name is Paul. It's when everybody else is named like Heinrich and things of that, Paul seems a little lackluster, but Paul, it's fine. Your Grace, you have not received any invitation from the Baron. This is quite unusual. Quite right. I'll have to visit the Baron myself, perhaps, knocking on the door. Unfortunately, I have ill news, Your Grace. The peasants in Bog End have rebelled. They defeated the tax collector's troop and strung him up from a birch. Indeed. Well, then I hope it's a birch with many branches, for the rebels will be swinging from it before the dawn. Paul, ready my weapons. We leave immediately. Very well, my lord. We should take the western road and follow it past the inn Goat and Cat. Alright, so this is the basic interface of the game, and you'll see me kind of wandering around here. I can't tell you enough how much I love the graphical stylings of this game. Now at the bottom, we can change the passage of time. Time only passes while we're walking, or I can kind of trigger it on and off if we want to bypass for a little bit. Let's take a walk, and you'll see there it is, minutes passing as we walk down the road. This is our armored badass self. I love the fact that we start out with full plate mail and just look completely awesome. We can also look at the time. There's the date. It's the 21st of May. We have how many golden we have. I think that's the name of the gold, as it's called golden or golder or something of that nature. We generate a little bit per day. If you look at the if you look at the, I forget what that's called. If you look at the sigil or the flag of our house up above our head, I'll think of it in just a moment. Watch. Just a few moments from now, I'll remember what it's called. And the coat of arms. There we go. The coterie. There it is. Luxenlock is our castle. Right here we have the number of castles that we own. As that goes up, we can get more troops. Let's take a look at our castle. And let me rotate just a tad here. There we go. And then we'll go into our castle. We do have a garrison here that we can place in case somebody tries to invade our castle. This kind of bodes well for the future. I'm thinking that the game might turn into kind of a sandbox type deal. It looks as though I've looked at some of the code and I've looked at some of the things in some of the little config files and in some of the ways that the game is parsing its data, and it very much looks like they're trying to set it up for sort of a sandbox gameplay experience later on in the future. I don't know if I'm just reading too far into things. Now, if we go to our character screen here, here's Heinrich, our character, in a beautifully rendered scene. I like that quite a bit, and we've got all of the units that are part of our group. We have a recruit here who appears to be a pikeman of some sorts. Oh, he's a mob. Alright, well, he levels up, so just like in Mount and Blade, if we go over here to this tab, he levels up as time goes along, and you can see all of the things that he changes into as you go through the game. Additionally, we can give him equipment, which I think is really cool. Now, I think this right here is the default equipment that he has. If you try and equip him with anything lesser, I think this still counts. There's not a whole lot of data on the game, so some of these things that you're reading into right here, I'm not entirely sure how they work just yet. I've Googled like crazy, I've looked everywhere to no avail, so I just kind of have to assume that like right here, this is, I think it's banded male or brigandine, and I think it defaults. His armor value, if you look up here, is based on the fact of what this is. Like if I try and equip something lower than brigandine, I feel very strongly that his defense stats won't go up. So that's kind of something that it has against Mountain Blade. It's kind of an advantage, is you get to equip each of your units with whatever you want. Now, we have Paul. He's a duelist. If we look at his upgrade tree, he started as a noble, and then he's moved up to the second tier, which is duelist. Everybody has XP right there that you're going to have to fulfill, and that allows you to jump to the next tier, which is pretty badass. Some of them are really cool looking, and while he wears hose right now, later on down the line, he can be quite the armored badass. We've also got a basic hunter right here, and an upgraded version of the hunter, which is a bowman. These guys are going to be in the middle of your line. Now, this right here, this representation that you're seeing in this little triangle, is the way that they're going to be arranged in combat, and the combat in this game is kind of unique. It's difficult for me to describe because I don't know if it's in a primitive version that's going to be modified in the future, so I don't want to talk about it as though it's the final thing that you're ever going to see from the game, but at the moment it sort of functions a bit like checkers, almost. Well, not even like checkers. It's strange, but I'll show you the first time we get into combat. Over here we have Piedmont, and at the bottom of the screen you'll see that we have 5 out of 6 of our units filled, and then I believe, what is this right here? I think this is how many nobles we can have in our group? I don't know, or how many extra party members? Not so sure. I played through the tutorial, but it was a couple days ago. Let's go to Piedmont, and I'll talk about it in other episodes. That's right, this is going to be a full-length series, I think. We're going to play this game, kind of play around with it. We're going to play it as far as we can, and once we get stuck and we get irritated and frustrated, we'll probably break it off. I'm thinking we'll probably get away with 8 to 9 episodes with this one, but we have an option here in town. We can hire some peasants. They totally suck, and I don't know what they upgrade into, and I don't think there's any way that I can look at their upgrade tree from here. I can't assume. I think they turn into these guys, and these guys, their upgrade tree turns them into knights in the end, but this lady right here is who we want, this peasant woman. If we look at her abilities, she has restoration, so I don't know if she's a mage or if she's an herbalist, but she does have a healing skill, so we're going to hire her and put her in our back line so she can throw heals around as we're in combat. Looking here, we're full up, so let's be on our way. Let's look at our quest log really quickly and figure out what we want to be working on. So we want to make sure that we get into the masquerade ball, but we haven't heard anything from the Baron, or we can go and we can head off a rebellion. Let's mark these on the map, and you'll see that over here, I believe that this is talking to the Baron, and then this one up here is stopping the rebellion. Let's go ahead and head on out. We're going to go to the Baron first. We're going to keep our friends in high places first and foremost. As you walk around, I am going to speed the game up just a tiny bit, because I don't think you guys are going to be incredibly enamored with the fact that I'm walking slowly. Can you hear that horn? That's old Jan trumpeting. Luxembourg is in danger. If we turned around right now, we might forestall the assault. On the other hand, it would be perilous to leave Bog End to the wiles of the traders. The decision is yours. Well, I suppose we'll head back to the castle and try and rescue it from these guys right here. And this is going to be your first taste of combat. Now, the way that I would describe combat is almost like Stratego, but without the unit ranks. It plays very much like a board game. So how this works is you look, we've got this little kind of symbol or this little circle around the unit that it's currently his turn. This is the unit queue right here on the left side. This is the order that combat will take place in. Now, I can pick a unit for him to engage and from a direction that he can engage them if you see that little red arrow. But once he engages with that unit, neither he nor that unit can move until the engagement is done. And so that turns the game into a little bit of like a shifting line type deal where the decisions you make, your unit is stuck there until one of them is dead. Now, you can dogpile on one unit and try for the best to kill him off, but it's an interesting combat style. So let me take Paul here. It's currently Paul's turn, and we're going to attack this pikeman or this spearman at the top. He just dealt 44 damage, And there is no sound in the game right now. I forgot to mention that. They have a soundtrack, but you're not going to hear any clinks and clanks and groans and grunts and moans and all that good stuff. You're not going to hear any of that while I'm playing this because it hasn't been added yet. The game is much like Tenchi, where it functions, but a lot of the little things are missing. So you saw that he attacked this spearman up here, and he lost a little bit of health. He ended up getting shivved. Unfortunately, there's some prison politics going on, and he's earned himself a new hole. However, this unit has been wounded quite roundly and has earned himself a wound. That wound, I don't remember what that does. It didn't really explain it very well, or I wasn't paying attention. Both are likely. It's now my bowman's turn. I'm going to have him shoot at this noble that's coming up on us with this rather awesome hairstyle. He's rocking it Conan style. It's our main character's turn now, Heinrich's turn, so let's slash away at him. And so he dealt a little bit of damage, but he also took a little bit. I'm going to have this spearman step forward and maybe kill this unit. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to kill that unit, so no such luck there. I'm going to step this spearman forward and kill that unit so that we can have Paul shift over on this front and start fighting with this man with an axe. He's kind of a man-at-arms. He's got himself a gambeson, a nice little tin hat. My bowman, I think, is going to finish off this noble because he hurts a lot. Looks like we're going to take some damage there from there to there. I'm going to try and announce a little bit better since there's no sound effects. There's no combat log that I've seen so far. I'm going to try and announce what I see, but if I miss anything, I apologize. It's now my healer's turn, so you'll notice that all of these little symbols turn green. I'm going to heal this spearman in the front. This spearman's going to take some damage from this axeman. I'm going to have Paul step in from this, I guess, hex, and he's going to swing at him, but he's going to swing at the guy he's already engaged with, which is a little weird. I don't know if that counterattack, he actually killed off my spearman there. He was supposed to counterattack against Paul, from what I understand about the way the combat flows, but I could be completely wrong. For whatever reason, he counterattacked Paul by killing this guy. It might have to do with who he's engaged with or facing first. I'm not positive. It's now Heinrich's turn. He's going to come in from the south, I think. And so there it is. He's going to turn to face him. And he didn't counterattack. Let's go ahead and stab away at him. Give him a nice little shanking. And then we'll put a little bit of bow damage on him. And it's now our healer's turn. I'm going to heal Heinrich. There it is. And it's Paul's turn again. So let's slash away at this guy. And down he goes, just dual wielding like a badass, getting his Drizzt on. Or whichever dual wielding guy you want to bring up. I don't want to invoke the name of R.A. Salvatore to the dismay of his many detractors or his many supporters. That's just a flame war waiting to happen. Let's shoot a bow at him. Down he goes. And it's now Heinrich's turn. We're going to take a slash at that bowman there, and he's now engaged. Spearman's going to step in, get a little stab in. And this final bowman, not going to kill him, unfortunately. But we will be able to heal people, and since our wounds are persistent after combat, I think, it's good to make sure that everybody's healed before you quit. Now, you can move any distance. I forgot to bring that up, but any distance on the battlefield you can move without having any issue, as long as you end up engaged at the end of the turn. There are debuffs that stop you from moving, but for the most part, it seems like you can pretty much traverse the entire map so long as you can end in an engagement. But if you're blocked by a front, you can no longer move, so it's a little weird. Here, this is all the XP that each of my units has gained, and we also found ourselves a tooth on what looks like a little rope there and a battle axe or a war axe of some kind. 108 gold were that's the take on this one. Heinrich says, I've recognized their leader. By heaven, this man, Christian, once served Baronhouse. Be careful, your grace. I fear that the gaze of your eastern neighbor has turned on your lands, but I urge the utmost caution, your grace. Baron Doppelzung won't have anyone enforcing the law in his own lands. That's very true. So what he basically said there is that our neighbor has sent one of his sergeants to assail us, but because we've killed off that sergeant, our neighbor now has no defenses. We need to head back to the castle and heal people. From the castle, you can order healing on everybody. There it is right there. And it's also going to wake up our pikeman who died, or our spearman, I guess. It's going to cost us 53 golder, so there it is, and everybody is ready to get back into the throes of the melee. Let's head off to Bog End and see if we can get ourselves a rebellion squelched. So off we go. You can adjust the game to multiple different speeds. I think that's pretty much the fastest right here, so you can see we can kind of speed around ultimate Knight Speedy style. Speedy Boost EX 64-bit edition, I guess. And we'll go to Bog End and we'll see what's waiting for us here among this rebellion. It looks like we managed to dodge our beardy peasant friends, our ale-swigging enemies here. Let's go ahead and lock in with them if I can get the click to work. There we go. So now we're going to suppress a rebellion. We have this guy with a rather threatening-looking sledge. He's ready to knock down some walls, but it's Paul's turn first. Paul has really good initiative. Let's go ahead and take a swing at this guy, and he's going to one-shot him. Very cool. Our bowmen, I think, are going to want to focus on this guy with the sledgehammer. That sledgehammer is making me very nervous, as hammers tend to go straight through armor. Let's jump Heinrich into combat with this beardy man in the south. He looks very much like a lumberjack peasant, and he's got a rather untrendy... Oh, we got one-shotted by their bowman. That's a little weak. Their bowman, the game is very good, actually. I'll say this. The game is very, very good at focusing fire. In fact, they managed to stay focused very well, and that gets you into a lot of trouble. We're going to kill that guy with the sledgehammer. The spearman here is going to stab Heinrich and then take a counter blow. I'm going to have my healer now heal Heinrich. Heinrich's going to get stabbed by that spearman as well. And I think I'm going to have Paul come in and start fighting with their back line, getting rid of some of these archers. So down he goes. The reason Paul is so good in combat is because he's dual wielding. Dual wielding gives him incredible pluses to assault, but he's not so good defensively. Let's fire our bows maybe at this archer here and see if we can take him out. Heinrich and this spearman should be able to handle this row of enemies. So the bowman's going to turn on Paul and deal a little bit of damage to him. This spearman, now you see what I mean, he can't get to this unit right here because Paul is in the way. Now technically he could step through there, but I'm not really sure how the whole rules work. He can engage with this guy, but because I guess there's like an adjoined front or something right here, he can't close with this unit. That or it's just a weird thing about the beta. Not positive. Let's take a stab at this unit. And whose turn is it? Alright, it's our huntsman's turn. So he's going to fire at that guy, not killing him, unfortunately. This beardy man is scaring me with his manliness. No man can rock a beard that dense and not be able to dish out some serious damage. I just don't see it being a possibility. Let's throw a heal on Paul. He's not looking so good. This blue bar above my caster is obviously her mana. One thing that I do like is once she runs out of mana, we can actually have her meditate in the back row, and that recovers mana, so she's not completely useless once she's out. This does have a slippery slope effect of making her kind of an endless healer as the combat goes on, and that's something that I'm not sure if I agree with or dislike. I'm not sold on it just yet. I do feel like healers should be useful throughout the entire battle, but at the same time, having somebody spam heals, especially in my other playthrough, I have 3 of these guys in my back row, and they just bomb heals so hard that you can basically win the battlefield with 1 melee character, which is pretty wild. Whose turn is it? Paul? Paul, kill that other archer. I don't like how he's firing at me. And down he goes. He's ate a little bit of dust, and that's my archer's turn. He's going to kill Beardy Man in the south. Our rotund friend has fallen to the earth, and now we shall strike at this guy, but unfortunately we don't kill him. He's got some kind of sweat spot on his back. He's feeling a little bit of anxiety. I have a teacher who sweats like that every single period that I'm in class with him, and it's pretty nar by the end of class. He's pretty much drenched. Let's shank away, and down he goes, and that's the end of the combat. So unfortunately, our friend here has gotten mauled pretty good. Those little pips right there are how close to death he is. If he has one more of those, he's dead, and we should just kind of chuck him into the side of the ditch and not worry about it, but I think we can res him from where he's at. We got 23 gold, we got a spear, a cool beanie that we can wear half on and half off of our head so we can be totally trendy, a rabbit's foot, which I think increases our defense. We got that sledgehammer, which is pretty sweet, and then also another little pitchfork, I guess, or a tossing fork. Great for tossing salads or any other random greenery or hay that you have laying around. And so Bog End is back under our control. Now, what is the benefit of this? Well, if we go down our heroes, let's take a look at his tech tree or his skill tree. If we go down our hero's skill tree, what we can do is he doesn't actually upgrade like a class does. He has a talent tree, and if we go with Feudal Lord, any village that we control, we can walk into and demand tribute, and that's about 100 gold. So that's a great way to levy all of the gold that you're going to need for any engagement. And since we can't attack the castles of our enemies and take their lands and their holdings and their fiefs, that becomes a major part of gameplay, I would assume. Once they develop the game a little bit further, holding as much land as possible is going to allow you to raise levies, which is going to be pretty sweet, and gain all the gold you're going to need to maintain that force. Now, we have the tavern over here. Maybe we should swing through and see what quests are in store. Looks like there's 3 people here who are able to talk. And let's go ahead and listen to the tavern's rumors. So it says, you sit, a mug of beer in your hand, paying heed to the rumors, even though the boisterous laughter and overwhelming din of the conversation, ... Now, we're paying heed, but we don't give heed. Let's go over here, and we can talk to Dr. Celestine Rusina. Let's talk to him. Or her. Engel, you heard about Dr. Celestine Rusina, the one who's kind of a personal doctor to our Baron? I heard they wanted to burn him in Cremena for digging up graves and committing sacrilege on the bodies. It's a victimless crime. Necrophilia every now and again never hurt anybody. They say he can bring back youth. I don't know how he does it, but he gets visitors from every place. Well, my mind went to the complete... He was trying to bring people back and make them younger, I suppose. I guess my mind went to the absolute dirtiest possible place it could have. Every new coming woman you ask is heading for his estate. Maybe he can, the devil only knows. It's for the rich ones anyway. Women like us have nothing to pay with. Well, no, it's not in money that he accepts his payments. Ah, he's one of them carnal people. What is it then? I can tell you one thing, digging up graves at night is not for everyone. Well, let's look at some of the other rumors, because some of them will actually pop open quests that we can go through with. The Rowan-Flus Marauders. Or let's do Saladin's Olive. Do you know about Saladin's Olive? It's a tree that stays green all year round and lives for 1,000 years. So that tree grows in the Holy Land only. It bears fruit once in 7 years, and its fruit, well, they're hard and black as agate, but they cost 10 times as much, and for a reason. If you cook a fruit like that in clean water, you get a remedy for every ailment that there is in the world. Once upon a time, there lived Richard Yeseno, and he was the English king, the one who went to the Holy Land with Kaiser Frederick. He contracted fever while on the crusade, and no one could heal him. They thought he was as good as dead when the heathen king Saladin sent a doctor to him, who healed him with water from boiling this very olive. So, when they went on the crusades to the Holy Land, many of the local knights, well, I mean their ancestors, went too. Much fewer came back to be sure, but those who did brought back rich spoils. Zongel brought back a fruit from that tree. Instead of boiling it, he sowed it, and it sprouted. It has grown in the courtyard of the Zongel Castle ever since. When I served there as a cook, I heard Lionheart von Zengel tell that story 1,000 times. Huh. Interestingly enough, we may be able to check that one out. Let's talk about the Rowan-Flus Marauders, because we need stuff to do. We're wandering around sort of aimlessly, aside from finding the Baron. Times are hard. As if the local lords who want more and more taxes weren't enough, gangs from the south from Rowan-Flus have been harassing us lately. They're riding into villages in broad daylight, gathering all those who are not in the field working and telling them to bring that much of this and that much of that, or they'll soon know what will happen to them. What can we do? We have to pay. Soon enough we'll have nothing to eat, though. Well, let's go see what's going on with the Baron. Now, that tower right there, you'll see that its coterie is different. If we pass inside their lands, this kind of acts as a makeshift polygon if you connect all of his holdings. So this and this will go all the way back to his castle, and it'll make like a triangle, for example, if there's 3 of them. And if you go inside of there, his guards will actually ask you to pay tribute for walking through his land with armaments. Let's head back to our castle, and I need to heal everybody because we're pretty beat up right now. I don't want to lose this troop over here to a 4th wound. Let's get... there it is. So we'll heal him. And we can actually heal everybody. So everybody's back on their feet. It didn't cost us too much money. Did we get a retinue here? I came back with one of my characters, and there was a big old retinue here of just super pimped out, like, tier 8 guards that were just amazing after I had adventured for a while. It looks like there's a bandit running through the hills there. Maybe... Well, we're not going to stop at Piedmont. Let me check my character list, though, and see if anybody's leveled up. People should be... Well, never mind. People aren't that close. I would love for these recruits to actually be able to upgrade and possibly become guards or pikemen. That would make them a lot more useful. You'll see that their gear kind of upgrades automatically. They become more badass. They learn a little bit of that medieval bujitsu. Makes them a bit more robust and resilient, I guess. Well, not robust. Everybody was skinny in medieval times, I would assume. Not a lot of food going around. The Church of the Arab Martyrs. Let's go in there. Looks like we can hire a monk or a reader, and his ability is called Shield of Faith. It increases the willpower of a friendly unit by 5 and adds his or her total willpower to their melee defense. The effect stays for 2 turns, so he's kind of a buff bot. I don't really know what he turns into, so we'll come back maybe once we have a bit more to work with. We can also trade with him. Let's take a look and see what he has. A wise man's hat, which looks like kind of a beret or one of those headbands that people use to keep their hair back, or it's maybe about one of those little furry kind of do-rag type deals. He's got some amulets and rings. They don't look like they do anything, though. The Bowman's Bracelet, so that's kind of a badass bracelet that, like, Aragorn would wear, or somebody with shaggy hair and a dirty face would wear while they go into combat with a claymore. And a holy picture of Gregory the Wonder-Wah. He's got some potions as well. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent effect, but my guess is it probably restores your health once you're wounded in combat. No horses around, unfortunately. I don't know if mounted combat has been added. I'm not very knowledgeable about the game. Instead of doing that indie short, like I said, I figured I'd invite you guys to just kind of check the game out with me through my first hour and a half of gameplay and then make a choice for yourself. You can pre-order the game and you can back it. I think the Kickstarter is actually fully funded. This guy's probably going to come talk to me and be like, hey, pay your dues, punk. Yep, there it is. Halt! An armed troop on Lord Zinhart von Zongel's land? If you have the courage to appear here armed, you will have enough courtesy to compensate for the trouble. The passing will cost you 10 guldens. We're gonna pay that because I don't want to get into trouble with the watch. Also, I don't want to sully the relations with our neighbor here. This is the guy that we're actually going to look for their baron. We're going to look for their nobility and see if we can get them back into high straits. Maybe make friends with them. They've got a pretty big land holding though, and that kind of leads me to believe that we would more than likely just get our shit pushed in if we tried to fight with them. There's the Honey Barrel Tavern, but we want to go to the castle because that's where the baron was last seen. Let's run on over there and see if we can find out what has happened to the baron. And once we get that locked down, we'll have a little bit of direction. Sir Heinrich von Lutzenlock at last. Do you bring me news from the baron? Quite the contrary, actually. I come with news not from the baron, but for him. So you don't know anything. 2 weeks ago, His Grace the Baron gathered his loyal men and departed in great haste, but no one knows where he went to. We haven't heard from him since, and the baron charged me with looking after the castle and the surrounding lands, although I can barely manage it at this point. Is that all you know, Heinz? If your grace has any questions, I'll be glad to do what I can. I hope you'll be so kind as to help me too. You will always find me here in the castle. Very well, Knight of the Ketchup. Let's go talk to Ketchup Man again. It's because his last name's Heinz. I don't know if you have Heinz ketchup in other countries. I know a lot of my viewership is international, so Heinz makes they make a lovely sauce that you put with your French fries if you're not from a place that has ketchup. Welcome, let's see what he has to say. So we can inquire about 3 different things here. Let's inquire about the Baron's disappearance. Well, it was a fortnight or so ago. The Baron received a message that unsettled him greatly. His anxious state was hard to ignore. His Grace is a measured man and is not prone to sudden bouts of anger, but his mood was greatly changed. Then His Grace gathered his loyal men to his side and rode with great haste along the west road. A week later, a messenger along with his retinue arrived from the north. He looked important and said he'd arrived from Enderlin of West Rothwald, the Prince Elector. As you might understand, he didn't find the Baron here, and his disappointment was far from masked. It was almost as though he was in a rage. I offered him to stay at the castle and wait for the Baron to return, but he would not heed my words. As they told me later, he stayed in the lowlands in the local inn. I even heard he was questioning people there. A messenger from the Prince Elector? That's a surprise, I must confess. It might be worth finding him. He would surely know how to clear up the picture. Let's ask a few more questions. Do you need any help? Yes, Your Grace, your help would be precious. Let me explain the matter. Wenzel, known as the Fat One, who is guarding the northern borders of Roenfluss, has begun to attack the outpost that the old Baron erected. He won't venture any further than the outpost, and it doesn't look like he garrisons men in them, but I lose men to each of his raids, and our troops bear the brunt of his attacks. Bloody and broken men return from facing him. When the mood strikes him, he sometimes strikes out to loot the villages as well. They're quick and precise. One minute they're here, and in the next they're back in the forest, so I haven't been able to confront them. This is where you, Your Grace, could do me a great favor, and I promise you I would not forget such a favor. I have asked the same from Zongel, but they are too busy with their plots and schemes against one another to have time for anything else. Well, we'll keep an eye on that situation. Let's look and see if they have anybody we can hire. It looks like they have a soldier, which is a tier 2 troop, which might be worth considering if we disband one of the troops we already have on hand. Let's get rid of him, and we're actually going to hire this troop. Additionally, I'm going to get rid of this tier 1 bowman, and I'm going to hire the tier 2 bowman. Now, we don't have a ton of money, so we want to be careful as we hire, but I think that will increase our combat efficiency quite a bit. There does seem to be a pretty good translation of skills from one tier to the next, and it seems to work out pretty well. Paul has word for us. Paul, speak freely. So it's clear now. Doppelzung has disappeared, and his vassals are about to take advantage of the situation and break loose. The only way to prevent a feud is to find out what happened to the Baron. The sooner the better. On the other hand, preventing a war is just one possibility. If you find the Baron, you will be seen as a protector of his claims and a trusted friend. However, if you seek to move forward and take control of the situation, you may gain more than you think. Both are hard roads, Your Grace, and I trust you'll make the right decision. What he's basically saying there, if you didn't catch the translation, is that we can either help find the Baron, or we can sack his lands and be opportunists while he's out and away. I'm going to go for the former, because I feel like picking on a neighbor this much bigger than us is a terrible, terrible idea. We have like one castle and a couple hovels that are filled with turnips and disease. We don't have like a badass city. He has got a, look at it, he got a city. He has a whole city with which to fight us, and I don't know how resources work, so I think we're going to walk away from that conflict and try and make friends instead. Now, we're reaching that 30-minute mark, so my name is Splattercat. Thank you for joining me here in the Nerd Castle for the first episode of our Legends of Eisenwald playthrough. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm not positive how long this is going to run. We may try and play the full storyline, or we may run until we hit bugs or anything else. The game it's barely out of alpha. I'll leave it there. I'll say that it made the jump to beta recently. So, I'll see you guys next time, and take care out there, everybody.